I found hidden camera pointed at where I breastfed my baby. I'm honestly kind of freaking out right now. For context, I'm a teen mom to my 7-month-old daughter. I recently started nannying again because I needed the income and I took a job that wasn't ideal. 2 kids in my neighborhood for $16 char. I used to study child health and development in college before I dropped out to raise my daughter, and I've got about a year and a half of nannying experience. I found this family on care.com, and looking back, there were so many red flags. She had no profile picture. She refused a phone interview, saying she only does in person because she can tell character better that way. She used military time for everything, so I assumed she was ex-military. She's not. And she insisted on meeting at a school, not a coffee shop or anywhere public, I suggested. She was 15 minutes late and showed up in short shorts, no bra, slippers, and high socks. Not exactly the strict, polished person I expected based on her tone over text. She had 3 kids, 6 female, 4 female, and almost 2 male. The interview actually went okay, and because she lived nearby, I accepted the job on the spot. She mentioned paying me as a 1099 contractor, which is illegal for household employees in my state, so I told her she'd either need to do under-the-table cash or a proper W-2. She chose cash but refused to sign a contract because she didn't want paper trails, another red flag I should have listened to. During the interview, I specifically said no secret nanny cams. She told me she only had 2 cameras both in her kids' rooms, which I was completely fine with. But then weird comments started happening. One day, I served the kids some fruit that was already cut up in the fridge. Later, she mentioned, "You forgot to wash it." Another time, she brought up a snack I had packed for my daughter when I never left at her house. She mentioned me wiping down her counters with a reusable towel, something she couldn't have known unless she was watching me. She also somehow knew I use voice to text because of my dyslexia, something I never told her. At that point, I assumed there was a hidden camera or mic somewhere, which was super off-putting considering she knew I breastfed my daughter and had specifically asked if there was any cameras. The vibe in general was off. She made really degrading comments like saying she doesn't understand why anyone would go to college for child development and strictly referring to me as a babysitter. She was dismissive, controlling, and constantly added new chores on top of childcare to the point that I could barely focus on the kids. Her daughter would also often say some weird and concerning things, for example, "My mom's gonna be mad, but it's okay because she won't be mad at me. The floors are really dirty, you need to sweep them." And one time she went on a minute tangent about silly, forgetful people who always forget everything after I left my lunchbox at their house overnight. Along with this and some other stuff, she said I just assumed she was repeating stuff her mother had said. But today was the breaking point. My daughter wasn't feeling well, so she wanted to be held most of the day. The 2-year-old knocked over a set of picture frames on himself. The house was not at all child-friendly. The 4-year-old had multiple meltdowns, and when I tried to calm her, she started kicking and hitting me. I let the mom know I'd need to leave early, and she agreed as long as both kids were down for a nap first. While I was feeding my daughter before leaving, I noticed the Alexa was flashing green every time I spoke. I Googled it and learned that means there's a drop in basically someone is listening in. That's when I started looking around the room. And sure enough, I found a hidden camera tucked inside an open purse, pointed directly at the chair where I breastfeed my daughter. I froze. My stomach dropped. I grabbed my baby, packed up our stuff, and left without unloading the dishwasher. A few hours later, she sent me a long text rant about clarifying expectations. Basically, she wanted me to be a maid, not a nanny, all while watching 3 kids. After talking to my husband, I've decided I'm quitting immediately. I'm still shaken that someone recorded me feeding my baby without consent. Update. I forgot to mention in my last post that I unplugged both the camera and the Alexa before I left that day. Between that and my mom, who's a therapist, and have talked to her before strongly believing she is a narcissist, I decided I will not be returning. My mom actually helped me write a text to keep things calm and avoid any retaliation. The nanny mom knows where I live, so we wanted to be careful with how I worded it. Here's what I sent her. Thank you for sharing your concerns. Today was definitely a rough one with sick kids, lack of sleep, and a lot of challenging behaviors. After reflecting, I feel that with the expectations and the different ages, this position isn't the best fit for me. For safety reasons, I believe it would be better for you to find someone else. 2 male, knocking down the picture frames today because I was preoccupied with 4 female, and my daughter has really shown me that it would be best for me to step away immediately for everybody's safety. She replied with, "Okay, wow, that was pretty unexpected. I disagree with the imminent safety concern, especially being that he is 20 months and didn't do it with malicious intent, but I respect your decision. I will calculate your time and pay you accordingly." My mom said this is a typical response of a narcissist, taking her child's faults as her own. I just replied thank you, and she did end up paying me, but only about 1/3 of what I was owed. Here's the message she sent with the payment. Paid. 30 minutes removed for unfulfilled obligations that I had to tend during my lunch today, and 6 hours removed for previous overpayment of miscalculated hours. Thank you for your time with us. The unfulfilled obligations she's talking about? Dishes I had already cleaned but didn't put away, from the night before when I wasn't even working, and not sweeping the floors. Also, looking back, I feel like there was a lot of mind games she'd play with me through stuff she heard and saw, including her miscalculating the hours. She randomly started counting my 5 hours days as 6 hours and would constantly mention it and write it on my clock and sheet. I don't know if she was testing me, just feels odd. She would also constantly repeat that she was a good person and had good morals, even sometimes going as far as repeating she's a good person 3 times in the same conversation. I haven't filed the police report, but I also don't have any photos. I've reported her to care.com. She already has a post up. I'm planning to check in occasionally to see if it's taken down, and she hired somebody else. They sort of live in my neighborhood, so maybe I'll be able to catch the nanny on a walk and give her a heads up. They also had a nanny before me that left abrupt as well. A few people pointed out in my last post that I was being severely underpaid. You're right. I've already started looking for other nanny positions and have been offered $22.25 told HR, which just confirms how much I was being taken advantage of. Am I the jerk for not helping my parents during their financial troubles and telling them to get help from my sister instead, since she gets everything from them and I get nothing? My sister, 21, and I, 24, were raised differently by our parents. They would throw money at her whenever she wanted it, and they would spend it, even if she didn't ask for something, just because they could. I had to ask for everything, and most of the time I had to justify why I needed my request met, and to do that I had to write or type out a detailed argument on why I should get any of their money. Most times I was denied because they didn't think it was a need. Whenever they denied me, I got lectured on learning to work hard and learning how to beg just right and doing whatever it took for money, only to be told afterward that I needed my own money because theirs was not for me. When I was 16, my parents told me they would not help me with college in any way. They wouldn't even fill out FAFSA forms for me to find out what I was eligible for. When my guidance counselor asked them to reconsider, they said no. And if I wanted to go to college, I would need to put myself through college and take on the debt myself. My guidance counselor still wanted me to go, and so did many of my teachers. But I chose to do something else. I didn't want a lifetime of debt to follow me around. My parents didn't care because either way I was expected to find my own way and pay for everything myself. With my sister, it was different. They bought her a brand new car, bought all kinds of stuff she wanted and liked, paid 100% of everything for her college expenses. They were even sending her extra money to buy stuff while she was attending college. And now they have run out of money, and they're in debt because they borrowed to pay more college expenses for her. Then they turned to me and asked for my help, because they weren't sure if they could eat or pay any bills with the debt they are now in. I didn't even get much of an explanation at first, but I have told them no each time, and I told them to get my sister to help them since she's the one who gets everything from them anyway, and I couldn't even get a stupid form signed by them. They're mad about it, and so is my sister, who thinks I am wildly unfair to push this back on her. She said I'm older anyway, so I should be helping them. So am I the jerk for not helping my parents during their financial troubles and telling them to get help from my sister instead, since she gets everything from them and I get nothing? Am I the jerk for refusing to train my replacement after I gave notice when I found out they're paying her more than me? I, 32 female, have been working as a senior graphic designer at a mid-size marketing firm for 5 years. I'm good at my job, I've brought in major clients, won awards for our campaigns, the whole thing. I've asked for raises twice in the past 3 years, and both times was told budget constraints, but got 2 to 3% cost of living increases. 2 weeks ago, I accepted a position at another company for significantly more money. I gave my standard 2 weeks notice, and my boss seemed fine with it, said he understood. Yesterday, my boss introduced me to my replacement, Jessica. He pulled me aside and asked me to spend my remaining time training her and getting her up to speed on all my projects and clients. Sure, whatever, that's normal. Here's the problem: Jessica and I grabbed coffee to chat about the role, and she mentioned how excited she was about the salary. Then she told me the actual number. She's making $15K more than what I was making. For the same position with less experience than me, she has 2 years in the field. I have 8. I went back to my boss and asked him point blank if this was true. He got uncomfortable and said, well, the market has changed and we had to offer competitive rates to attract talent. I said, so you had budget for a competitive salary just not to keep me? He didn't really have an answer. I told him I'd finish out my 2 weeks and wrap up my own work, but I'm not training Jessica. That's not my responsibility, especially now that I know they valued a new hire more than a loyal employee who's been here for 5 years. I feel like I'm justified, like why should I go above and beyond for a company that clearly didn't value me? So am I the jerk for refusing to train my replacement after I gave notice when I found out they're paying her more than me? Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for daily Reddit stories. All rights belong to the original author. This video is for narration and entertainment purposes only.